It's Tobias Harris after the game. And, there were concerns that the Pistons youth and inexperience in the playoffs might manifest itself in some way in game one or in this series altogether. And who was it in the first half that carried the day? Two of the veterans. That was being Tobias Harris, who had 22 at the break, and Malik Beasley had 12. Tim Hardaway came out in the second half and went 3-3 and an and one. These are all the veterans that have been there and done that. What was your stat? That all the veterans have played over 120?
Yeah, it's like 120 games between the three of them.
In the postseason, yes. So they did have that experience. What happened? What happened? Was that a lack of experience? Or did they just pick a bad time to play a bad quarter of basketball? Is this kind of what happens in the course of the regular season too? It's just not under the magnifying glass.
Well, I think there is you can absolutely make the argument there was a little bit of a lack of experience there. I'm not sure it's necessarily lack of playoff experience. I think it with Cade Cunningham, it's been a work in progress for him to cut down on turnovers. And I think that was the big problem, right? Is that we knew they were gonna swarm him. Yeah. How is he going to react to that? So is that lack of playoff experience, or is that just lack of experience and didn't exactly handle it well throughout the game? He didn't bring his A game with him in terms of shooting, but he was getting others involved. I mean, he had the 12 assists in the game, and at one point, I think the 9 assists had accounted for 21 points or something like that. So if you got 12 and say it accounts for 28 points,
yeah,
that coupled with your own 21, that's 49 points created by that position. I'm not so down on Cade today like I know others are. Look, 8 of 21, that's nothing to write home about. That's not very good. But the Pistons as a whole in the fourth quarter just didn't show up enough. To me, I look at the game and what are the two questions you're asking?
Is what happened and what's going to happen next.
I think what happened is that they ran into a buzzsaw in the fourth quarter for a team that went 17 of 24 in the fourth quarter and shot 71%. That doesn't happen. You don't see that happen. You can see a team have a good quarter, a really good quarter, but not like a near flawless quarter like that. And when that happens in the playoffs, and it coincides with a time that you go ice cold. We know that runs happen in basketball all the time. A 21-0 run in the NBA in a playoff game, that's not supposed to happen. So I can say, yuck, throw that out the window. I think what happened is that Isaiah Stewart got hurt. That changed things dramatically for what they're going to do defensively with 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And, they had the 8-point lead. It got knocked down to 3 and then went back up to 8. Then he goes out and 21-0 run happens. So I think that's what happened. What's going to happen? I think what I look at from the game is that the Pistons played 3 really good quarters of basketball that we've seen all season long. They play like that. I don't think that's going to change. I think they're going to play great basketball. What they need to do is close it out and do it through 4 quarters. And I don't expect the Knicks to have another quarter like they did in the rest of the series. So I think the Pistons are still in decent shape here.
So you talked about, what happened and they went ice cold. And I think there were 2 signs to me that, well, one, the turnovers for touchdowns were bad, right? They were just, you turn it over and immediately are giving up 2 on the other end. And that's bad. And that happened too much. But the turnovers in general, 8 in the fourth quarter is obviously brutal. I do think they panicked a little bit. And I think every once in a while you can see this. And it's just one of my observations. You see a guy that gets the basketball and wants to take it and basically in their own mind says, okay, I'm going to end this run. I'm going to end this run right now. And it's one of the few times, and I'm under the impression, in watching this team play, one of the things I love about them is they don't do that. They don't hunt shots. I think they let the offense come to them. I think they started hunting shots, trying to send a message, trying to say, I'm gonna end this right here and now. And I thought they hunted shots just a little bit in that stretch. But then J.B. Bickerstaff after the game said something I think he needed to be said, and I think it sets the tone. His post-game press conference, he was calm. He was confident. And of the fourth quarter collapse, his approach was, and the quote is, "It was great to get the stuff on tape and go out and get better the next time." And I'm like, yes. Here is your leader. Here is your coach. Here is the guy that is going to ferry you through this entire series. They were going to lose a game, right? They were going to lose a game. And whenever you lose a game, something went wrong and you simply address it. But he didn't make it bigger than it was. I really, really like his approach. And I think JB Bickerstaff, if that was his attitude in the locker room after the game, I think he's going to say, okay, what does that mean? It means when you sit down with your team, you're like, okay, this is no big deal. We can fix this, and we're going to fix it. And their confidence shouldn't be rattled if your leader sets that tone. I think JB Bickerstaff set the tone that needed to be set. And I really, really like his approach afterwards, which was, it wasn't dismissive of the run, but I thought it was a really, a positive message to have that says, because you know what it is? We need to address this before we win an NBA championship. We need to address these kinds of things and make sure that we guard against them, giving up 21-0 runs and what we can do. Because now that we've been through this, good. Here's a box we need to check. Let's go check it in our preparation for game 2 and be ready to step out and have our better performance. And as far as moving forward, what now? I think tonight's a Cade night. I think Cade has a huge game tonight. And the reason is because one game does not change my opinion of who Cade Cunningham is. We all thought going into this series, Cade Cunningham is a budding superstar and has a chance to announce his presence on the NBA's biggest stage, the postseason. Okay, for him, he had a bad game. He struggled. He turned it over too much, didn't shoot it particularly well, did some other good things which can be focused on. I think reacting to this postseason performance, overreacting to this postseason performance would be foolish. I think the guy that was averaging over 30 points a game for like the last 17 games or whatever it is going into the postseason makes a reappearance tonight.
Well, he had a couple of big games his last 2 games against the Knicks anyway. So, yeah, I would expect him to bounce back and be more of a scorer in this and hopefully take care of the basketball better than what he did. 6 turnovers is way too many. But again, I think from the Pistons, I'm going to try to steer them away from the doom and gloom. That was a perfect quarter that they played, and we played an awful quarter. We're going to move on. The first 3 quarters, that's Pistons basketball. That's winning basketball. We'll get back to that. This is all we know.
Right? There's more examples out of that game of what went right. Right? They got plenty of examples of what went right.
It's from moment 1 that the fourth quarter started that things went south. When you can't get the ball in bounds to start the quarter, when you're missing dunks, breakaway dunks, when you have another one that the ball goes in and the ball comes out, there's some bad luck mixed in there, right? But when you give up 17 of 24 shooting in that quarter, that's not going to end well for you.
So, in my opinion, what happened and what happens next, the first part, what happened, obviously the fourth quarter happened. That's what happened in the game 1 loss. And why did that happen? I think 2 of the 3 things I was worried about heading into the series happened. It's turnovers and this inexperience. The turnovers started immediately as soon as the fourth quarter started or didn't even start. They couldn't get the ball inbounded, right? Turnover, points. Very next possession, what happened? Shot clock violation. I don't know if I've ever seen that in an NBA game before where the same team back-to-back had an inbound violation and then it followed up by a shot clock violation. 2 turnovers, more points for the Knicks. The 21-0 run, it wasn't even a run. I think you guys are giving the Knicks too much credit. Half of those were at least easy layups because of turnovers.
The
21-0 run was because they couldn't stop it at any point because they got down on themselves. The inexperience of this team, they sulked. If you saw it, the only guy at that point during that run trying to get this team energized and get up and get the ball inbounded and get up the court was Malik Beasley. He's clapping his hands saying, let's go, let's go. The rest of the team was kind of moping, and it was really alarming to see, like, hey, guys, this run is happening in real time right now. We have to get out of it now. There's still 6-7 minutes left in the game, but they were acting like it was like 2-3 minutes left in the game, and that's where inexperience, I think, took over for this game. Now, like the Pistons, I kind of was like down in the game right after, and you kind of mope and you're frustrated, things like that. But you got to flush it out immediately. And they have a game tonight, and I think they will. Just like you said, Doug, Bickerstaff set the tone. Hey, we got it on tape now. We've got to move on. Someone was going to be down 1-0 after game one. It's the Pistons. The way it happened, probably a little surprising, but this is the team that couldn't close out games for the last part of 2-3 years. This year, they're able to close out games, not Saturday night. So I think what happens next is you have to learn on real time moving forward. There's going to be runs. You have to stop those runs. You cannot lose the energy. And unfortunately, one of those big energy guys, Beef Stew, might be out. And his status is up in the air still.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic that we'll get into deeply as the show goes on. Piston fans, now is your time. 248-539-9797. What happened and what's going to happen next? We'll get your champ and chump votes. They are coming in. We'll have ours today at 10:35. And then, want to know if this bothered you. If this bothered you while watching that game, we'll get to that today at 10:40. Here on Karsch and Anderson on 97.1 The Ticket.